tonight.
Hillary Clinton may be the most corrupt person ever to seek the presidency.
Donald Trump exposes Hillary Clinton in a major speech. Eric Trump is here tonight with reaction.
There is one common theme in all of these reforms.
Then the presumptive Republican nominee explains what his first 100 days in office would look like.
It's going to be America first.
Laura Ingraham is here to weigh in. And Trump blasts Clinton's dangerous plans to deal with illegal immigration.
Hillary Clinton has put forward the most radical immigration platform in the history of the United States.
Senator Jeff Sessions responds. Plus, the businessman reaches out to Bernie Sanders supporters.
We're asking Bernie Sanders voters to join our movement.
As new polls show that many of Bernie's backers may never vote for Hillary.
What do you think about Hillary Clinton? Will you support her?
Absolutely not.
Hannity starts right here, right now. And welcome to Hannity. So Donald Trump blasts Hillary Clinton in a major speech today, highlighting her numerous scandals, her failures at the State Department, and, of course, her history of corruption. Tonight, for the hour, we're going to have reaction to Trump's epic takedown of his Democratic rival. Now, we'll also show you Mr. Trump's plan for his first 100 days in office if he wins the White House. But first, the presumptive Republican nominee did not mince words and had a blistering assessment of Hillary Clinton. Take a look.
Hillary Clinton. And as you know, most people know, she's a world-class liar. The other candidate in this race has spent her entire life making money for special interests. And I will tell you, she's made plenty of money for them. And she's been taking plenty of money out for herself. Hillary Clinton has perfected the politics of personal profit and even theft. She ran the State Department like her own personal hedge fund, doing favors for oppressive regimes. She believes she's entitled to the office. Her campaign slogan is, "I'm with her." You know what my response is to that? I'm with you, the American people. No Secretary of State has been more wrong, more often, and in more places than Hillary Clinton. Her decisions spread death, destruction, and terrorism everywhere she touched.
Here with reaction from the Trump Organization, Donald Trump's son, Eric Trump. Good to see you. How are you, sir?
Sean?
As always. World-class liar, most corrupt person ever to seek the presidency, used the State Department as a personal hedge fund, and, you know, went through really chapter and verse on a lot of issues we talk about, but a lot of issues, too, the media's been ignoring.
Yeah. Well, it's true. They have been ignoring it. And I was so proud of him. I was front row today, and honestly, he was so humble. He was direct. He spoke to the problems. And listen, the country's fed up of this corruption. It's crazy. I mean, here's somebody that between, 2007, 2014 made $150 million, all while being Secretary of State. I mean, how do you do that as a government employee? I mean, you're supposed to be doing a job. You're supposed to be, looking after the interests of the United States of America. Instead, you're profiting off of it. And I think he's 100% right. I mean, the corruption is so wrong, Sean.
He said he'd end the special interest monopoly in Washington. He talked about, how much money she got from speeches, but where she got speeches, where she was given the money. We were talking about Wall Street companies, big banks, big insurance companies, and I think even more corruptly, foreign governments. The money that the Clinton Foundation, the Clinton Library has gotten from countries like Saudi Arabia, Oman. I'll even put it up on the screen. I've been pointing out these are countries that abuse women, gays, lesbians, Christians, and Jews.
And what's more, it's bad enough that you're a government employee taking money from other countries. It's so much worse when you're Secretary of State, and it's so much worse when they're oppressive regimes. And Sean, this is one of the reasons my father's running. He doesn't need this job. He doesn't need to run for president. He has a beautiful life and a wonderful life. He sees this nonsense happening. He sees a $150 billion Iran deal, which is crazy. I mean, we're giving $150 billion to a country that hates our guts. Well, he sees all the problems. He sees this corruption. The Clinton Foundation. Listen, Charity Navigator, one of the leading rankers of charities, they won't even rate the Clinton Foundation. That's how bad their expense ratios are. I mean, it's true corruption.
How do you claim the mantle as a champion of women's rights, gay rights, lesbian rights, religious freedom, as Hillary does, take money from countries that execute gays and lesbians, that tell women how to dress, tell them they can't go to work or school unless a man approves, tells them they can't drive a car, they can't leave a house without a male relative, and never offer any criticism until your father embarrassed them last week and then gave minor criticism.
Yeah.
What does that say about her?
Well, listen, it's ultimate hypocrisy. I think another thing that's crazy is, the Clinton Foundation, right? A woman at the Clinton Foundation, executive at Clinton Foundation, if you're female, makes $83,000 less than a male at the Clinton Foundation. And then she's out there talking about
Donald Trump did that.
Equal pay for women and men, which is great and which is right and which is true and everything else, but she doesn't abide by the things that she preaches, and that's so sad.
One of the things that I have been highlighting that really makes me nervous, our National Director of Intelligence, James Clapper, our FBI Director Comey, our Assistant FBI Director Steinbach, Obama's former Special Envoy to defeat ISIS, now the CIA Director, the Chairman of the House Homeland Security, have all said that the refugee population will be infiltrated by ISIS and terrorist organizations. Hillary wants to increase that number that Obama's allowing in by 550%.
Sure.
Your father talked about this. Let's roll that tape.
Perhaps the most terrifying thing about Hillary Clinton's foreign policy is that she refuses to acknowledge the threat posed by radical Islam. In fact, Hillary Clinton supports a radical 550% increase in Syrian refugees coming into the United States. Under her plan, we would admit hundreds of thousands of refugees from the most dangerous countries on earth with no way to screen who they are, what they believe, where they come from.
Eric, I view that as they're willing to gamble with the lives of Americans and ignore our top intelligence officers.
If you have one person in those hundreds and hundreds of thousands of refugees, one person who's bad, you can't let them into this country. We saw what happened in California. We saw what happened in Brussels. We saw what happened on 9/11, right? We just saw what happened in Orlando, the worst shooting in the history of this country. You can't let a single bad person in this country.
Why would they be willing to risk the lives of Americans and ignore these very smart people?
It baffles me. It defies all common sense. And by the way, all the while where we have 56% unemployment in inner cities within minority groups, the African American population, the Latino population, 56% unemployment. Right, and despite that, you want to bring hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people.
It costs $20,000 a refugee, 20 grand. That's just the beginning. Let me also, your dad went very hard after her record. A lot of liberals, a lot of people on the left championed Hillary's record as Secretary of State. Well, Donald Trump took issue with that. Let's watch what he said.
In 2009, before Hillary Clinton was sworn in, it was a different world. In just 4 years, Secretary Clinton managed to almost single-handedly destabilize the entire Middle East. Thanks to Hillary Clinton, Iran is now the dominant Islamic power in the Middle East and on the road to nuclear weapons. Hillary Clinton's support for violent regime change in Syria has thrown the country into one of the bloodiest civil wars anyone has ever seen, while giving ISIS a launching pad for terrorism against the West. Hillary Clinton's tryout for the presidency has produced one deadly foreign policy disaster after another.
Think about this. They got it wrong with the Muslim Brotherhood leader, Mohammed Morsi, who once referred to the Israelis as descendants of apes and pigs. They gave him tanks and F-16s. Got it wrong. Hillary was negotiating with Iran. They literally, Ramadi, Fallujah, Tikrit, and Mosul, they were in our territory. They gave a date to pull out. Now it created a vacuum both in Syria and Iraq for ISIS. Libya they got wrong. Is there any part, where does she say she had any success?
Well, listen, I don't think there's any foreign policy that she's gotten right. I mean, none. She could have flipped a coin, and I think she could have been better off. But aside from destabilizing the Middle East and all the problems that that's created, and ISIS and everything else, it's also cost this country, $4 or $5 trillion. Right? They're building the new Tappan Zee Bridge just north of here. Yeah. Right? It's a $4 billion project. You see how big and beautiful and expansive this bridge is. And then you see us spend $4 or $5 trillion fighting wars that we haven't won. Oh, in fact, we've only made the situation worse.
Well, we actually won the wars, but then they become politicized. Then we pull out early and don't finish the job, and then you have to explain to mothers and fathers why their sons died.
Sure.
I mean, that is a national disgrace from my perception. As a matter of fact, Trump read a letter from your dad, read a letter from the mother of a slain policeman killed by an illegal. Now, this is really, this issue has propelled him into this presidential race, and this is the moment.
Let me share with you a letter our campaign received from Marianne Mendoza. Hillary Clinton, who already has the blood of so many on her hands, is now announcing that she is willing to put each and every one of our lives in harm's way. An open door policy to criminals and terrorists to enter our country. Hillary is not concerned about you or I. She is only concerned about the power of the presidency and the power that it would bring. She needs to go to prison to pay for the crimes that she's already committed against our country.
You know, I have interviewed, Eric, so many mothers and fathers of people killed by illegal immigrants. I actually have, there's a picture of this officer.
Yeah.
And another example, one after another. There were 5 examples in the newspaper today about illegal immigrants creating crimes, people dying.
It truly affects him. And, you know, I mean, as I go on the campaign trail with him, I've met Jamil Shaw, I met his parents, I met Kate Steinle's family. I mean, so many of these amazing families whose lives are now ruined. I mean, they lost their kid. That's everything to them. I mean, it's absolutely everything. Their families have been destroyed, all because of sanctuary cities, all because of illegal immigration, all because of politicians that turn a blind eye to a problem that we're having. They're not willing to address it. They're not willing to take care of it. They're not willing to talk about it. It's so sad. I mean, it's tearing the fabric of this country apart, and it's torn the fabric of those families apart.
This is really, though, becoming a choice election, isn't it? In other words, Hillary won't build the wall. Hillary will appoint liberal justices. Your dad has given the names of conservative justices. On the economy, your dad has been very clear. We need lower taxes, less bureaucracy, regulation from the federal government. He has talked about eliminating Obamacare. She would keep Obamacare. On schools, he'd give it back to the states. This is really a choice election. There's a really clear, there are 2 clear different visions here.
Sure.
I'll give you the last word.
His is America first. It's very simple. That's why he's doing it. Again, he doesn't need to do this. His is America first. We need to put America first. We want to make America great again. We need to fix the problems, and we're not going to fix it with these corrupt politicians.
Did you go to Washington with your dad?
Certainly one of them. Listen, I'm going to be running the company, but if he
You're going to be running the company?
If he ever needed anything, I would be there in a heartbeat. I believe in this cause. I believe in his mission so much, and I believe in him. He's been the best father in the world.
I think Don Jr. is going to get into politics. I'm just reading the tea leaves here.
He's great, right?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure now. I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking you might follow him in as well.
We're passionate about it. We're passionate about it because we care about this country. This country's given our family everything. We care about this country. That's why our father's doing it. I mean, it's just why our father's doing it.
Eric Trump, good to see you. Thanks for being with us. When we come back, we have this coming up next, right here on Hannity.
The first 100 days, I will appoint judges who will uphold the Constitution of the United States.
Donald Trump laying out his vision for his first 100 days in office. If he wins in November, we'll check in with Laura Ingraham. She's coming up next, and also later tonight.
Hillary Clinton has put forward the most radical immigration platform in the history of the United States.
Donald Trump exposing Hillary Clinton's dangerous plans for open borders and dealing with illegal immigration. We'll check in with Senator Jeff Sessions. That and more straight ahead tonight, right here on Hannity. Welcome back to Hannity. So during his big speech earlier today, Donald Trump, he laid out his plan for his first 100 days in office. Let's take a look.
The first 100 days, I will appoint judges who will uphold the Constitution of the United States. I will change immigration rules to give unemployed Americans an opportunity to fill good, really good, paying jobs. We'll stand up to countries that cheat on trade, of which there are many. Will cancel rules and regulations that send jobs overseas, will lift restrictions on energy production. We will repeal and replace job-killing Obamacare. It is a total disaster. We'll pass massive tax reform to create millions of new jobs and lower taxes for everyone. We're going to impose tough new ethics rules to restore dignity to the office of the Secretary of State. There is one common theme in all of these reforms. It's going to be America first.
And joining us now with reaction to Donald Trump's speech from earlier today, the editor-in-chief of LifeZette and Fox News contributor and nationally syndicated radio host, Laura Ingraham. Laura, as I was discussing with Eric Trump, this is now becoming, in a major way, a choice election. Reminds me a lot of Carter versus Reagan, in much as 2 very distinct visions for the future of the country. Thoughts?
I think you're right, Sean. And I was thinking about the Brexit vote tomorrow. And November really is our version of the Brexit vote. And the question on the table is simple. Are we going to live in a free and independent sovereign nation, or are we going to continue to cede more of our authority to global institutions, which, as we know, leads to despair, a lack of prosperity, no jobs, that pay all that well for the middle class. The global elites do really well, which is why the global elites tend to prefer these global institutions. But that's really the question on the table. Globalization has failed. It's failed the American people. It's failed the people of France and Britain. You're seeing them rebel against it. And in this country, Trump represents Brexit.
You know, I think you're right in a lot of different ways, and you think all the manufacturing that has left this country, you think that corporations, now they're multinational, now they build their goods elsewhere, they use cheaper labor, they bring it back to the United States. That's why I would think union members would support it, or people in the coal industry, the fracking industry, the oil industry, any of these industries. But go down the list. It's judges, very different choices. It's Obamacare, keeping it or getting rid of it. It's trade, it's building up our military, it's globalization, it's schools, it's energy independence. These are profound issues that will have very different results for the future of the country. How do you think on issues, though, this works out? Does it become an issue-oriented campaign, or is Hillary successful in just making it about Trump's temperament?
Yeah, I think she has been in office or been in national spotlight for now about 25 years, Sean. Think about it. And where are the media folks pressing her to actually run on her record? She's not running on a record. Her big economic speech was not, look at what we've done, look at my great results in foreign policy. All she can do is offer the same old bumper stickers about Trump's temperament or Trump University or Trump steaks, or it's all kind of personal attacks about his temperament. But the woman cannot run on a record. Think about that. That's profound. So if you like what we've had over the last 7.5 years, you're probably one of the more global elite types of people because you've done well. But everyone in the middle, whether you're Republican or Democrat, independent, Bernie Sanders supporter, your life probably hasn't gotten a lot better, and in many ways you've lost ground.
Because your wages aren't going up. Think about this, though. If you look at Libya, Syria, Iraq, Iran, Egypt, the Middle East in general, then China, Russia reset, you don't have any foreign policy success. Everything she touched has gotten dramatically, profoundly worse since she's been there. I think that's a powerful narrative, because I don't think the American people, they literally created the vacuum that ISIS is now filled. Then they can't identify radical Islamists. They also don't want to control the border, so it all becomes interconnected, right?
Absolutely. And Sean, she helped destabilize the Middle East, Trump said today. I think that's also powerful. And again, her role was to be Secretary of State, meaning she was going to advance all these diplomatic measures. America would be more influential, more powerful. The world would become more stable post-Bush after the apology tour. But we saw that apology tour led to weakness, led to dissension, led to destabilization, and Hillary Clinton was at the helm. And so Trump goes on and on today about, what's happened in this economy. The economy is the number one issue. He's leading on that issue, Sean, in almost every poll. I think the foreign policy argument, he's probably not going to get all that much more support than he already has on that. But on the economic issue, I think he is.
There's two very distinct differences. One is on trade globalization, as you have pointed out and articulated a lot. Also the immigration issue. Republicans have been reluctant because they want to cater to big business and cheap labor that they've wanted. But if you really compare, and you think of Bob Dole's campaign, or John McCain was unwilling to bring up Reverend Wright for crying out loud, and that timid. I wouldn't say Mitt Romney was timid, but I can't imagine any of those three that lost being so forceful to actually say that, she is a world-class liar and probably the most corrupt person ever to seek the presidency.
I think that's the only way to win this. You have to lay out the stark differences between the campaigns. She has no record. All she's going to do is launch personal attacks. Her record's been abysmal on foreign policy. If she knew how to fix the economy, Sean, is she just keeping that secret from Obama? And she's going to launch this secret plan for 4% growth on January 20th. I mean, it doesn't pass the straight face test. It's a joke.
All right, and I'll talk to Doug Schoen later. He's saying Hillary's only going to go negative. We'll never talk about a record. You're right. The media won't challenge it. You add the quintessential predictable narrative that we get in every election cycle. Republicans are racist, sexist, war on women, want dirty air, water, and to kill grandma. So add to that the Trump narrative. Well, he doesn't have the temperament. If you're advising Donald Trump, know what the attacks are. We've heard Obama and Hillary, they're coordinating, and the $45 million they're going to spend against him in the next month. How do you counter this? What's the best way to counter this?
I think you make this a national campaign for one proposition. Do you want more money in your pocket that you earn and that you're proud about? Do you want your neighborhoods to be safe and secure? He made that pitch to the Latino voters today. I thought that was very smart. He said poor immigrants are the ones who are oftentimes hurt the worst.
That's true.
Because of these open borders. The fact that he's going and to broaden his message to include Latinos, African Americans who have been hammered in the Obama economy. That's the message.
Do you see it? I've seen this week a rapid response team emerge.
Absolutely.
I've seen this probably the hardest hitting speech he's used. Do you think this campaign is on a different trajectory now?
I 100% believe that, and I also think that all the sideliners and the "see I told you so"ers out there who are just kind of waiting.
The Paul Ryans and the Lindsey Grahams that seemingly want to sabotage the campaign?
Well, they want Hillary to win. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it. When Marco Rubio came out today and said, well, I disagree with Trump on a lot of things, but I disagree with Hillary more. That's really what you have to offer the country, Marco? I mean, that's it? I mean, that's your full-throated endorsement of Trump? I mean, I think these people think they're going to hurt Trump, but what they have to realize, Sean, is that what they're really doing is insulting all the people who showed up for him, and I think people have a long memory.
A record number of people, too. All right, Laura, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
And coming up next tonight, right here on Hannity.
Hillary Clinton has put forward the most radical immigration platform in the history of the United States.
Trump ripping Clinton's dangerous open borders immigration plan. We'll check in with Senator Jeff Sessions. He'll join us next with reaction and also later tonight.
The first victims of her radical policies will be poor African American and Hispanic workers who need jobs.
Trump slamming Clinton by saying her proposals will hurt African Americans, they'll hurt Hispanic Americans. Larry Elder, Juan Williams, they're here to debate that and much more straight ahead tonight, right here on Hannity. Welcome back to Hannity. So ever since Donald Trump came down the escalator, remember in the lobby at Trump Tower, announced his candidacy, well, the topic of immigration has been a very key focus of his campaign. Earlier today, Trump turned his attention to Hillary Clinton's immigration plan and the threat that it could pose to you, the American people. Let's watch.
National security is also immigration security, and Hillary wants neither. Hillary Clinton has put forward the most radical immigration platform in the history of the United States. She's pledged to grant mass amnesty and in her first 100 days end virtually all immigration enforcement and thus create totally open borders for the United States. Totally open borders. And by the way, 16,500 Border Patrol agents have endorsed Donald Trump. First time in the history that they've endorsed the president.
Joining us now, the chairman of the Immigration and National Interest Subcommittee, Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions. Senator, good to see you. So let me see if I have these numbers right. Please correct me if I'm wrong. That based on research conducted on a list of the Department of Justice subcommittee that you're involved in, let's see, at least 380 of the 580 individuals convicted of terrorism or terrorism-related offenses between September 11, 2001 and December 31st, 2014, they were 380 of 580 were born abroad?
Absolutely, and it's really a lot more than that because we had to find that information from public sources, and for a large number we couldn't. I'd say it's probably pushing 75%. Those involved in terrorist activities were actually
Are they
born.
illegal immigrants, or are they some illegal and then some are foreign, born here on visas, and we're not vetting them properly?
Right. They're coming mostly, I would assume, on legal visas, but they are immigrants themselves. So some are suggesting that second generation or homegrown terrorism is the biggest problem. That's really not so, according to the data.
When Donald Trump said that there's rapes and murders by illegal immigrants, I sat through a security briefing with Governor Rick Perry, and in an 8-year period, they reported, his officials, people on the borders, they gave the number 625,000 crimes committed by illegal immigrants against Texans alone, including rape and murder. So this is happening. What Trump said is true, is accurate.
It's absolutely accurate. It's indisputable, really. We have a responsibility to protect the United States of America from those who would attack us and destroy domestic stability and tranquility. We can do that. People don't have a constitutional right to demand entry. We should screen those people, those who are likely to be prosperous and flourish in America and be good citizens. We should admit before we admit those who are likely to be dangerous.
Well, the group FAIR did a study, and what they found is from the Freedom of Information Act on their behest that the 30,558 criminal aliens that ICE released in fiscal year 2014, of the 30,000, 13,288 additional crimes were committed by illegal immigrants that just got out of jail. Why are we letting illegal immigrants that are in prison back out on the street?
Sean, the law requires that if you're convicted of an offense in the United States, you shall be deported. They should be deported anyway if they're here illegally. So you first should be deported if you're here illegally, and if you commit a crime, that's a high priority case. It's not happening, even that. Hillary Clinton has said, Sean, that nobody in the country illegally should be deported unless they are a terrorist or commit a violent crime. And that's just open borders, really.
If Donald Trump asked you to be his vice president, what would you say?
I would ask him what's wrong with him. I'm enjoying the work I'm doing. I look forward to helping him.
Is that
I really believe he's doing a good job, and he's got the right instincts.
Are you going to duck my question? Are you going to say you're going to duck? So you won't give me an answer one way or the other. That's fair. Thank you, Senator, for being with us. Appreciate it. And coming up next tonight, right here on Hannity.
The first victims of her radical policies will be poor African American and Hispanic workers who need jobs.
Donald Trump slamming Hillary Clinton's failed policy, saying that they're going to hurt African Americans and Hispanics the most. Larry Elder, Juan Williams, they're coming up next, then later tonight.
We're asking Bernie Sanders voters to join our movement so together we can fix the system for all Americans.
Donald Trump telling Bernie Sanders supporters to join his movement. Now this, as a brand new poll shows that nearly half of Sanders followers say they'll never vote for Hillary. Now we sent David Webb to find out why. We'll play you that video and much more tonight as we continue.
The first victims of her radical policies will be poor African American and Hispanic workers who need jobs. They're also the ones that she will hurt the most, by far.
All right, that was Donald Trump earlier today reaching out to African-American and Hispanic voters. Joining us now is Salem radio talk show host, nationally syndicated, Larry Elder, and the co-host of The Five, Juan Williams. Simple question. And I know the answer, so I'm asking you a trick question. Okay. Are black Americans and Hispanic Americans better off under the last 8 years of Obama, or are they worse off statistically?
Statistically, I guess they're about the same, and I guess your point is there's been no improvement, and Obama promised so much hope.
There are millions of more black Americans in poverty, millions of black Americans on food stamps, million more Latinos on. Let me finish.
No. On food stamps.
On food stamps and in poverty. More.
No,
millions
we
more.
came through a terrible recession.
I know Bush is out of office 8 years. I don't want to talk about him anymore.
That's fine. I understand.
So this is the Obama economy.
Okay.
And since he's been president, millions of more black Americans and millions of more Hispanic Americans are in poverty and on food stamps, and black unemployment, especially for teenage minorities, is the highest it's ever been.
Well, what you're saying is that we have persistent high unemployment, poverty rates. It's higher. In fact, the national unemployment rate has gone down, Sean Hannity.
All right, but I
know it's 5% when Mitt Romney promised 6%. So Obama's outperformed your heroes.
Larry Elder, I give him the facts. He can't deal with the truth.
Oh, yeah.
He can't handle the truth.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
But the reality is that there are more black Hispanics out of the labor force, more black and Hispanic Americans in poverty and on food stamps.
Right.
And they want to go back to the Bush administration and blame Bush. I don't get it.
Well, Sean, you know, a fact to a toe tag liberal is like kryptonite to Superman. They can't take it. Facts are racist. You are absolutely right. The black economy has underperformed under this president. And don't take a right-wing person like me as your example. Go to people like Tavis Smiley. He has said that under this president and a few years before, under every major economic measure, blacks have lost ground. Janet Yellen, the Fed chair, just the other day talked about the underemployment of blacks, the underemployment of the economy in general, and the sluggishness. This has been the worst economic recovery since the Second World War by virtually every major index, including and especially job growth and GDP growth.
But Larry, it's more than that. Disproportionately
and spending. Taxing and spending and regulating and putting burdens on job creators and then turning around and they're shocked that job creators are not investing in their own companies.
Yeah, that's why it's 5% unemployment, Larry. Wow. How did that happen?
Can I ask
What an amazing
Sean, let me address that.
Let me ask you a question.
What about Donald Trump's economic policies?
Let me ask you a question. So let me understand this. So if you're unemployed for 6 months or longer, you're no longer counted in the unemployment numbers. So you're going to make the case we have the lowest labor participation rate since the early 70s. And you're going to make the case that we shouldn't count people as unemployed even though they've been out of work 6 months or longer and they can't get jobs. We shouldn't count them in the unemployment number.
If they're retiring, if they're baby boomers,
unemployed,
if they're people you can get long-term unemployment in this country. You can get a long-term unemployment 18 months and plus. So what are you talking about?
What I'm saying is, Larry, he doesn't seem to understand. Truth, facts matter.
Yeah, right.
If you don't count people unemployed for 6 months or longer, that number is fraudulent. It's a lie. A government lie.
May I join this party? May I join this party?
Yes, you may.
Sean, liberals don't know what labor force participation rate is. They have no idea what that means. It means able-bodied and able-minded people who are looking for work or have work, and it's at a 35-year low. And don't take my word for it. Jim Clifton, the CEO of Gallup, said that the unemployment rate is a lie. His word, not mine, because of what you just said, Sean. The number of people who have left the job market.
Larry, there's no change from, yesterday they changed it so Obama's numbers would look better. This is the way it's always been done. That's a fact. Can you live with that?
Then how do you live with then how do you make up for the labor force participation being at a 40-year low?
Because there's more people who are elderly. There's more young people coming in who are having trouble finding work. But that doesn't change the reality of what is a long-term statistic, unemployment, and it's 5%.
Larry, go ahead.
Sean, Juan is right. That is one factor, but that's not the whole factor. The biggest factor is a whole bunch of people have said, to hell with it, I am giving up or I'm retiring sooner than I otherwise would have, precisely because of Obama's economic policy.
That's why consumer confidence is up. That's why you see businesses dying to come to the United States.
Because they know its term is coming to an end.
Market up. That's why you see, in fact, 401ks going up.
I don't know
all
what you're
of this
smoking.
good economic news you don't want to hear. That's why Obama's approval rating right now over 50%.
You're living in a fantasy land.
People must be so stupid.
I got to take a break. That's all the time we have for Juan's fantasy land. Coming up next tonight, right here on Hannity.
We're asking Bernie Sanders voters to join our movement so together we can fix the system for all Americans.
Donald Trump reaching out to Bernie Sanders supporters as new polls now show that nearly half of Sanders backers will not vote for Hillary Clinton. Now, we sent David Webb out to find out why. We'll show you that video. Plus, we'll have reaction from Doug Schoen, Lisa Booth, that and more tonight right here on Hannity.
Time Warner Cable.
The insiders wrote the rules of the game to keep themselves in power and in the money. That's why we're asking Bernie Sanders voters to join our movement so together we can fix the system for all Americans, so important.
All right, Donald Trump earlier today courting Bernie Sanders voters. Now, a wise move because a brand new Bloomberg poll shows that almost half of Bernie Sanders supporters will not be voting for Hillary Clinton in November. Now, recently, we sent David Webb to speak with Sanders followers about this very topic. Let's take a look.
With Hillary Clinton as the nominee, where do you think the Bernie Sanders voters are going to go?
Well, we already know some might go to Trump, some might go to Jill Stein, some might go to Hillary, and some might stay home.
Where do you think the Bernie Sanders voters are going to go?
Like the lady just said before me, it's going to be pretty split.
Does the other half go to Trump? Some have said they would.
Oh, that's silly. No, a person who believes in the thing Bernie believes in could never vote for Donald Trump.
Would you support Hillary Clinton in the general election?
It depends on what kind of wall I'm up against.
But I really want to support Hillary Clinton, but I just can't do it.
I think most will probably get in line and vote for her, but a significant minority probably will not.
Some of them have said that they would support Trump. A lot of people are angry at the establishment on both sides. Do you think some will go to Trump?
Absolutely.
Joining us now, Fox News contributor, former Clinton pollster Doug Schoen, and Washington Examiner contributor Lisa Booth. How much attrition, Doug Schoen, could she afford to lose with the Bernie people? 22% would go to Trump, and then the rest either stay home or go libertarian.
Well, in that poll, she was getting 55% of them. And in 2008, Barack Obama got 89% of the Clinton vote. Democrats will consolidate, Sean. She can't afford to lose much, to answer your question. But I think as this race gets more polarized and Bernie joins her campaign, which he indicated today he would do to stop Trump, I think ultimately it will be no more than 20% that will either vote for Trump or stay home. So I don't think it's going to be a problem, but clearly a warning sign, as you suggest.
Lisa, I watched Hillary today, and she got angry and loud, and instead of saying you're fired, I'll say you're hired. It was a pretty lame response. And the Politico had a piece today that the Clinton team really went to reevaluate after Trump's hard-hitting speech. Did he do damage today?
He absolutely did damage. And look, his best line of the day was saying that Clinton's slogan is "I'm with her, but I'm with you, the American people." And this is the appeal that Donald Trump has to the Bernie Sanders supporters. He's outside of the system. Hillary Clinton is the embodiment of everything that these Bernie Sanders supporters hate. She is inauthentic. She is part of the establishment. She's dishonest. She is paid for by special interests like Wall Street. She won't even release the Wall Street transcript. She's bought and paid for by foreign governments, foreign entities. So she is, at the end of the day, the embodiment of everything that these Bernie Sanders supporters do not like, that they do not trust, and they do not support.
And if I had to sum it up, Doug Schoen, I mean, her record is, and the Trump speech highlighted this, old ideas. She's corrupt, dishonest, untrustworthy. She lies. And her record is a failure. When you look at Libya, Iran, Russia reset, you look at Mohammed Morsi, every single place she touched, things went bad and got worse. So I don't know what she runs on in terms of what she has succeeded in doing.
Oh, she's not. She's going to run a negative campaign against Donald Trump.
She's not. So you admit as a Democrat she has nothing positive to run on.
I'm saying that she should run against Donald Trump. It's the best way to win. Winning is what matters, and she is going to do everything she can.
So if she runs on her record, she'll lose. The only way she can win is to attack Donald Trump.
That is what she's going to do, Sean. Count on it.
Then that's the only way she can win. Lisa, that's fascinating, because I think the American people
the best advice you can.
And Sean, I think the great irony here is that Hillary Clinton is trying to paint Donald Trump as 2016's Mitt Romney. But the irony here is Hillary Clinton is the one that is out of touch. She is an out-of-touch politician. She is someone who has openly bragged and called for essentially taking coal miners out of work, of destroying the coal industry, of hurting these working-class, hard-working Americans.
Oil, and fracking. She's against it all. And it's very interesting. Did you see the writer, Lisa, for example, she gives a speech, she'll give maybe a 1 hour grip and greet and 100 clicks on a camera. And then she gets a G4, which seats 19, but then she needs separate seats for her staff. God forbid they actually fly with her. And then, of course, she needs the presidential suite, and she hasn't driven a car in 20 some odd years, which I find a little bit odd.
Well, and that's the inauthenticity. That's the problem with Hillary Clinton, is the fact that she's railing against the big banks, but she's raking in hundreds of thousands of dollars, speaking to Wall Street groups, speaking to Wall Street, and she won't release the transcripts. It's the hypocrisy.
Doug, I mean, this is a vulnerability of hers, bought and paid for by big banks, Wall Street, foreign countries that have given her millions and that have bought her silence. I think she's got her own defense. I think Donald Trump has a pretty good narrative against her.
He does, which is why Hillary will run the kind of campaign she has, given her financial superiority, focus on the key swing states, and the fact that Trump's negative now is higher than hers. That's what this campaign's going to be. So far, she's 6 points ahead. So things are going relatively well for Hillary.
We shall see. Coming up, we need your help. A very important question of the day is next. Straight
Info.com.
And time for our question of the day. So what did you think of Donald Trump's big speech today? Just go to Facebook.com/Sean Hannity, @Sean Hannity on Twitter. Let us know what you think. But that's all the time we have left this evening. As always, thank you for being with us. We will see you back here tomorrow night.